Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blow the Whistle Sports. I'm your host, Wayne Holloway. And if you don't know what you've been missing about that 22-23 season, it has went by fast, and we are at the end. Super Bowl is coming up, and if you've missed the super, what do we call it? The
Super Championship Weekend.
championship weekend, conference weekend, super conference weekend. I don't know where you were at. It was a great weekend and a lot of great games. Some heartbreaks, some some follies, and a lot of ref mischief. I'll just say that. But let me introduce my co-host that you just heard, Mr. Steven Rubain. How you doing, sir?
I am doing wonderful. Thank you. How about yourself?
Man, I had a bunch of heartbreaks myself this past week.
Well, this week we got both games right. So I actually feel good. This is like the first time where I can actually sit here and have my chest down and say, hey, called it how we saw it.
Well, I had a bunch of those moments this season.
Well, really?
Yes.
Oh,
I had a
okay.
bunch of those moments.
We'll wait till the end of the year when we go over what our initial predictions were and how things really turned out. But
yeah, I mean, I can't help when coaching goes bad, but hey, it is what it is.
It is what it is. But this is that 2-week break in between that championship games and then the Super Bowl is like, oh my God. I guess I got to catch up on other sports. Got to clean out the garage and do all the other things that you've been lagging on.
I still have to get used to adding super to everything. Super. It's crazy how they're trying to coin that phrase.
Well, I wish they'd have super officiating, but we're going to get to that in a little bit because man, officiating, we got it. Oof.
I know a lot of people are shaking their fists at that officiating.
I learned a new term, the shutdown play. Did you ever know about the shutdown officiating play? Where they can just shut the play down after the play happens? That's a new one to me. I've watched a lot of football for a lot of years. I've never heard them say, shutdown play. We're going to go back and play it again.
No, I've seen them shut down a bunch of plays, Steve.
You see them shut down after the players are already on the field, ready to kick the ball? You see them?
No, they shut down a lot of plays.
They shut down a lot of plays before the play happens. They don't shut down the play after the play's already occurred.
Well, they said it was shut down already, and nobody heard the whistle. Let's get it straight.
Okay,
they said it was shut down, and no one heard the whistle.
And
then they showed the referee run out and shut the play down.
Okay, but what is it? But even after all that happened, then what happened? They waited. Players are already running on the field. All this other stuff happened. They should immediately, as soon as the play ended,
every ref should have been blowing their whistle, waving their hands,
and come out and immediately make the call. But the problem was that it dragged on. The kicking team was already on the field. They're already ready to kick the ball. Then all of a sudden, shutdown play. That didn't look good. It was a bad look.
Even the team that got the break didn't even know.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It was a real bad look for the officiating crew.
I'm glad it happened because we need that stuff cleaned up.
Oh yeah, I mean
this needs to be a big issue.
The NFL in the offseason got a lot of work to do. I mean, when they have their owner meetings, they're gonna need to really buckle down on a lot of these things as far as cleaning it up because now you got players coming out questioning officiating as far as a fix. I mean, we know it's a dirty word. I know you hate that word fix. We could like to say influence.
Well, the fix and an influence, I'm starting to hate both of those words because this is the NFL that I really get into. I'm gonna repeat. I left WWF wrestling. Now it's WWE because it was fake.
Oh, I still lost. I love WWF. I still watch it to this day because I know what I'm going to get. I mean, speaking of which, they just had the Royal Rumble this last Saturday.
Hey, I sneak a peek at it sometimes.
Yeah,
Don't get me wrong. That's still that nostalgia. That was my thing.
Yeah, the storylines have been better than ever now recently, and it's a big market there for wrestling. But the NFL needs to come out and just come clean.
I'm glad we brought up wrestling. And my heart goes out to one of my favorite wrestlers, Hulk Hogan.
Oh man,
he can't walk right now.
I know. I heard the story. Yeah,
all his nerves in his back has been severed due to an operation.
9 operations. He's had 9 back operations.
He's given his body to that sport.
Yes, he has. I mean,
well, we can't call it a sport. We have to call it entertainment.
Sports entertainment. But it's still, even if sports entertainment, guys still got to go out there. Guys still get injured. Guys still have to go through all the things that happen. So we got to give him his props. I mean, that man, he is modern day wrestling. I mean, he's the first one who really took it to that next level.
Yes.
So speaking of taking it to that next level, Tom Terrific.
Tom the GOAT.
Tom the GOAT. We're going to talk about two all-time GOATs. I'm going to say two polarizing figures in two of the top sports, the NFL and the NBA, because both of them made big headlines this week. So we're going to start first with the GOAT. You want to start off
the GOAT?
The GOAT.
The number one.
Yeah,
Tom Special.
Tom Special.
Half man, half amazing.
Half man, half amazing.
Where we get our half man, half amazing award here at Blow the Whistle Sports.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you something about Tom Brady, because my first 10 years of following him, I hated him. I mean, I just despised everything he stood for. I mean, all that stuff that he stood for, I just thought the Patriots were overhyped, overrated. He's one of the few players I can honestly say he won my endorsement based on not just what he did on the field, but just based on how the effort and the perseverance he put into his craft. He didn't ever lay down and take the game for granted. And so I have to respect him for someone 23 years. Think about 23 years.
Wow.
In the NFL.
You know who exudes that type of energy?
Who's that?
Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts is the modern day.
He has that type of energy.
He has an energy and a commitment, and not just energy, but commitment to the game. I mean, someone who just doesn't go out there and just thinks like it's always no big deal, just kind of goes through the motions.
Yes,
He plays every game like his life's on the line, and you gotta love that about him.
I love that about those type of players.
Yes,
I don't have to like your team, but players, I'll tell you, players. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and Jalen Hurts has begun to win my heart over with man since college.
I had called Packard at the end of the game. We were watching the game and calling at the end because at the very last seconds, as they were, everybody's starting to celebrate. I'm looking over at Jalen Hurts, and he's just sitting there with a look like
serious.
What's the big deal? What happened? And I'm like, how can you going into your first Super Bowl be that calm, cool, and collective, and just kind of matter of fact? I said, this guy, he's not human. He's like a robot.
He got what it takes.
He got what it takes. I mean, that truly amazed me because, I mean, I would have been dancing. They've been all over the place. They would have to slow me down. But he's like Tom.
He's like Peyton. We still got another game to win before we can do all that.
Yeah, he's like, what's this big deal? We haven't done nothing yet. Super Bowl's coming up 2 weeks.
Hey,
so
let's get to Mr. Tom Terrific.
Yeah, so if you've been living under a rock, you haven't heard yet that he decided to retire.
Don't say it, Steve.
I know. Well, let's just say he's retired for now, because these type of players, you can't ever say it's official. Yeah, I mean, they're already talking about, well, what if the 49ers have another quarterback injury? You think they'll call Tom Brady, and Tom Brady will go in mid-season and play for him? And, and I mean, you sit there and like, that kind of makes some sense.
Hey, it's just the 49ers.
So, yeah.
They're known to let somebody through the line and knock quarterbacks out.
Right, exactly. So
when have you seen 4 quarterbacks go out the season and not just go out with a little injury, with meaningful injuries?
I know. Can I say something about that though, real quick?
Go ahead. Kick it out.
Since you brought it up. NFL owners, general managers. Here's some advice for you. Have 3 quarterbacks on your roster in the playoffs. It's inexcusable for any team to go into a championship game and only have 2 quarterbacks, especially when your 2 quarterbacks are, number 1, a rookie, and then number 2, a journeyman who's played for 13 teams in 10 years.
13
different teams he's played for. I mean, I know we're all talking in hindsight, like, hindsight makes sense. You should have kept, come on.
Even Dallas signed another kicker.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You can't. Yeah, you just can't go out there. I mean, they really put all the pressure on Purdy that he's going to do it no matter what. I mean, there was like Purdy or bust. I mean, that's really what the Niners did to their fan base. Is like they said, we're going to put all our eggs on Purdy.
But we're going to get into the games. Yeah, Talk about Mr. Special, man.
Well, Mr. Special, like I said, under a rock. He retired today, or we think he's retired. We'll see if he's retired. But I'll say this much about his retirement. I mean, A lot of people felt he should retire after the 4th Super Bowl ring. And then a lot more people say he should retire after the 5th Super Bowl ring. Then almost everybody thought he should retire after the 6th one. When he came back in that Falcons game, it was like, oh, what was he playing again for? But then after he won that 7th ring, I knew he should have retired. I mean, it was like the perfect scenario. Tampa Bay, new team. People thought, why are you leaving the Patriots? Blah, blah, blah.
He should have walked away into the sunset with his helmet.
But he said he needed to give it one more year. And then that one more year led to 2 more years. And that 2 more years has led to not just a divorce. But now, would you say a little stain on his legacy? Would you say there's a slight stain on his legacy as far as?
No, never.
You don't think so?
No, he's the GOAT.
I mean, he is the GOAT, but he looked mortal this year. I mean,
he didn't.
A lot of people. I mean, even though he put up great stats.
Incorrect.
There were several times during the year where you kind of make comments like, "Man, he's missing wide open guys. He looks. I mean, slower than usual. I mean,
you know what it is? Mm-hmm. When you see a superhero for so long, and you see a superhero start to make mere mortal mistakes, it seems like, oh my goodness, the world is over. Yeah. But let me put it into perspective. Can I put it into perspective?
Yes,
I'm gonna put it into perspective for all of you. Tom Brady had a weird season that we've never seen him have before, where he just didn't look special to everyone else. But guess what? He still was, out of 32 teams, Tom Terrific was still ranked number 3, Steve.
I know.
Number 3. He had 8 and 9 with the Buccaneers, still led his division, still won the division.
One division.
And number 3 in the league. He's still leaving with his head up. This man had 4,694 yards, Steve. Oh my goodness.
You went to his all-time number of yards?
Well, go tell me his all-time.
All-time number of yards, 89,214. There was a time, maybe like just 10 years ago, when like 45,000 yards was an all-time great yardage. He's taking that and just blew it out of the water.
And you trying to say this man has to held his head down?
I'm just saying, I said a stain to his legacy. I'm still saying his legacy is amazing. I'm just saying a slight stain.
733 attempts, 490 completions, 25 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions.
His record is, man, he has a 35-12 playoff record. Think about that. 35-12 playoff record.
Another thing to think about, look at this man. He had a terrible season. He's still better than more than half the NFL.
Yeah,
a terrible season.
I mean, I'm truly amazed by it. Like I said, I can't say enough about him. I mean, he's going to be next year in the Fox booth. He has a 10-year, $37 million contract.
Oh my goodness, we have not seen the last of Tom Special. Tom Terrific.
Let me change that. $375 million contract. So I mean, he's making more money as an announcer than 99.5% of the NFL players are making. I think only Aaron Rodgers makes more money than him, and maybe a couple other quarterbacks. That's it. And he's making this as an announcer. Think about that.
And Aaron Rodgers, he's making all that money. He's like ranked 12, 15, somewhere around there.
Ain't that something? So yeah. So I mean, I wish Tom Brady all the best.
Me too, man. And my hats off to you.
We maybe at the end of the year we'll do an end of the year tribute to him. But let's talk about another all-time great. Since we're in the news.
You gonna give me? You gonna make me have problems at home over this one?
Well, I'm sorry. I mean, you gonna have to give a little extra love. But LeBron, the King James.
LeBron.
Oh my goodness. Last night, I was out there, no football. I said, watch some NBA. I haven't watched a good NBA game in a while. So I said, we turn to the Lakers-Knicks game. So I'm out there, Madison Square Garden, Spike Lee's there, all the dignitaries, and you got, of course, LeBron James.
My goodness. I'm not a fan, but that man is special.
I mean, this man, last night, he didn't pass just one player. He passed 2 players on the all-time assist list in one game. He passed both Mark Jackson and Steve Nash to be 4th all-time in assists. Think about this. 10,338 assists. 4th all time.
My goodness.
Now, that itself would be amazing, except for the fact that next week he's going to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Not Kareem.
Kareem. And let's talk about Kareem. You know, everybody talks about LeBron versus Michael, or LeBron, Michael, and Kobe as far as all-time greats.
Right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the greatest basketball career of all time, hands down.
Right.
And I'm going to tell you why. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar not only was the #1 high school player in the country when he was in high school, but he led his high school Powell Memorial in New York City to 3 state, not just city championships, but also 3 national championships in high school. Think about that.
Amazing.
He goes to UCLA. Now, this is a time when freshmen didn't play basketball during that time period, so he only could play 3 years at UCLA. At UCLA, he led them not only be #1 team in the country all 3 years he was there, but 3 straight national championships. Then he comes to the NBA, #1 pick of the draft, goes to Milwaukee Bucks. Within his 2nd year, led them to the NBA title, led him again to a championship another time a couple years later, then goes to Los Angeles and wins 5 more championships.
Why doesn't this man's name come up more?
This man, why does his name not come up as far as all-time great career? I mean, we know about the talent of Michael, and we know about LeBron's stats and all this stuff. Nobody will ever come close to doing what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in his basketball career. Nobody. It's not even anybody close to doing what he's done.
So what's the hate in the room about him? What's going on?
I don't know, but speaking of the hate for LeBron, did you see that foul call on Saturday? Jason Tatum, the Celtics Laker game, when the game was tied, last play of the game, LeBron has the ball, he's driving to the basket. He had a layup that was obviously going to go in, and Jason Tatum just totally slapped the hand, knocked it down to the point where he couldn't even lift his hand up. Clear, obvious call that anyone could see, and the refs held the whistle. No great all-time greats do not get calls like LeBron James doesn't get. If that was Michael, Kobe, anybody, that whistle was being blown. I don't understand it, and there's a great point to it.
So you're trying to say that never happened to Kobe or Mike?
No, never. You can never call a time when Kobe or Mike, with the game on the line, and they were fouled, the foul was not called. Ever. You do your stat. If you can find a game where you can sit there and say that Kobe and LeBron were fouled and the foul wasn't called, please call and let me know.
I saw the game that you were talking about. I saw LeBron's
clear,
facial
obvious
expressions were amazing.
Oh my God. I thought he was going to go down and have a total spasm on the court. He did on his knees. He just totally lost it. But he should have lost it because it was so clear and obvious. And why do you have replay if you can't go back and have somebody sit there and say, okay, you missed the call, let's go ahead and just correct it? Nobody could have complained if they would have gone back and changed that call too.
That's what we say in the NFL also.
But that's where we get to this officiating. Why do we have all this technology and replays and all that stuff? And then you sit there and say, oh, well, the NBA comes out and they like, God, we're having sleepless nights and horrible. We feel so bad for them. No, that's a loss. They lost the game. A game that would have been won if that foul would have been called. He goes to the line, makes one free throw, every chance to win the game. Instead, they lose in overtime. So that's it for that. But yeah, #1, think about it. #1 all time in scoring, #4 all time in assists. He's in #10 all time in defensive rebounds. He's in the top 10 as far as with steals.
LeBron.
Come on now. Nobody's even come close. I'm gonna throw this at you. What do you think is an assist Michael Jordan's ranking all time? Let's see if you have an idea. All time assist.
All time assist for Jordan.
Yes.
Since him and Kobe didn't pass the ball that much, I would say it had to be pretty low, right?
Well, give me an idea. All time great. The number of years he played, all the games he played in, if you had to put a number, all time,
like 50.
Yeah, well, that was an amazing guess. He's exactly 50th all time.
Wow.
50th all time in assists.
See that?
Now even Kobe, we know Kobe didn't like to pass the ball. I think Kobe was like 33rd. So, But I mean, Kobe played a lot more years. But that's still being said. To put LeBron at
that would be an unfair advantage because Michael came into the NBA out of college.
yes,
Kobe came to the NBA out of high school.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
but this is what we do when announcers and reporters talk about the game. They do these unfair comparisons. It's like it's unfair to compare somebody that came out in college to somebody that came out in high school.
Oh no, and I'm pointing this out to say, as far as when you look at the averages, it was a big difference in average between Michael's assist and LeBron's assist, and even Kobe's assist. So that's what we're looking at. Is they played more years, no question, but when you look at the averages, it's a big difference in average. And so, just want to point that out. But that being said, yes, 2 all-time greats. Let's see what happens next week as
Brady
he does pass.
And LeBron.
Brady and LeBron. So let's see. So so we start off a show on a hot note with our 2 all-time greats. Now we gotta have a low note and talk about the Cali Cat Pack report.
Oh my goodness. Let's finish it off and give award to both of them. Half man, half amazing. Blow the whistle sports award to LeBron James.
I'm gonna blow it. What's up? Let me blow it.
And another one to the GOAT of GOATs, Mr. Tom Brady.
He gets a double blow.
Yes. And give a shout out to everybody on the feed. How you guys doing? Everybody on Facebook, please like, subscribe, and share. Please like, subscribe, and share.
Yes,
we appreciate all you guys' support, and I appreciate the DMs and all the questions, and I'll answer them as I get to them. Thank you very much. But like Steve said, my goodness, a sad note being everything that we thought was going to happen didn't happen, and
well, let's clarify. Let's clarify what you're talking about. I mean, inquiring minds want to know, what are you referring to?
My coaching situation over in Carolina.
Can I tell you, I told you so?
Hey, it is what it is. But here, let me put the camera on. Let me get into Cali Cat Pack, Roaring Riot, Panther Nation. Holla at your boy. This is the Cali Cat Pack report. Now, with the heavy heart, and I've took time. I started to do a special report on this. I started to come at you guys soon as it happened, but I said, you know what? Let me hang back. Let me see as the story unfolds. Mr. Steve Wilkes, we all wanted him. He deserved to be our head coach over in Carolina. Every vet came out in support. All the fans I would say most of the fans. I've read some of our blogs. We all wanted Steve Wilkes. He got more wins than Mr. Matt Rule did in the whole time he was here, and he put the team together. This man, Mr. Rule, that I'm happy got fired, gave away Christian McCaffrey. We had Eli Apple, we had Hassan Reddick. These are all players that we had within our grasp. And as you see, Hassan is over there in Philly, just dominating. Eli Apple did his thing. We had those pieces, and Rule ran this team like a college team, and got rid of people because of whatever his feelings were. We moved to Mr. Steve Wilkes, which pulled a terrible team together and made us feel like we had a winning culture in Carolina. He even made Sam Darnold, gave him enough confidence where he had a little bit of swagger I've never seen in Sam Darnold. And he got the shaft this past, where he got overlooked. And who entered the building? Mr. Frank Wright. And this is a man, he's my coach now. I won't throw him under the bus, but I will give you some stats that will upset you. His final record with the Colts was 4-12. Wilkes beat that record, and he was overlooked. Wilkes had a team that he didn't even have the whole season and got more wins than the team that Frank Wright put together. And he had them for over 3 years. And as soon as he lost his job, he got a job in Carolina. Like I said, I won't throw him under the bus, but that's what it is. Cali Cat Pack, Roaring Riot, Panther Nation. We as the fan base, we have to hold our heads up high and once again hope for the best. I've heard some things about Frank Wright. We'll see. As we did a little more digging, and my co-host, Mr. Steven Rubain, we found that what Steve been saying this whole time, I don't think they even were considering Steve Wilkes. I believe it was a ploy, and it was an act just to make us think that he was being looked at for the job. But Steve is Mr. Wilkes. I'll call him Steve. He has a lawsuit going with the NFL. He's tied in with Flores from over there in Miami, racial discrimination lawsuit with the NFL. So he's threw the shield up under the bus, and I don't think that they want him to have a straight out a head coaching job. Let me bring my co-host back in, but I'm keeping the Cali Cat Pack report going.
Yeah, I feel the pain you're going through. Just little loose ends on that. So the Panther owner, David Tepper, he comes out this week because he knows, I mean, we all know the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So he came out this week and talked about how the Panthers have probably the most diverse organization in the NFL regarding racial, because he brought up that they have 2 African-American females in his executive, along with, I think there's like 1 African-American male, and then he mentioned his wife, and he mentioned there's 1 white male. So we have diversity because we have
his wife.
Yeah, she's part of the organizational crew for the Panthers. Yes, she's part of whatever their main organizational crew is. She's part of it. And so he mentioned her. He mentioned another white gentleman, and he mentioned 2 African-American women and then an African-American male who are all part of his executive committee for the Panthers. And said that's diversity. Where do we go with that?
Well, where I'm at with telling everybody, like I said, I believe it was an act. He threw the shield up under the bus, and since they have an ongoing case, there's a thing called retaliation. So Mr. Tepper has to come out and show, well, we are diverse, and it wasn't dependent upon that, but. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean,
the record should speak for itself.
The record speaks for itself. I mean, and given the fact that both the fan base and the players themselves
wanted
this, I mean, you can't bring in somebody who has a worse record than the coach you're firing and sit there and try and justify by saying, well, he's an offensive guy. It was offensive, all right. It was very offensive. It was offensive to Packett and offensive to the Panther fan base. So,
and there you have it.
Yeah, that's it.
We have to go through this.
But let's talk about you guys. Where's Wilkes looking like he's heading to? Since we want to talk about Steve Wilkes.
Well, more power to him. I want him to do well. It looks like he'll be over there in the 49er fan base with the Bang Bang Niner gang.
Yeah, I mean, that's a move up for him regarding as far as
hey.
I mean, let's keep it real. I mean,
hey, there's no slinging mud in this Cali Cat Pack report.
I'm not slinging mud. I'm just saying.
It's a step up.
I mean, defensively speaking, that defense is on point. He's going to have a fun time working with that defense. And that Niner team, depending on what they decide to go with quarterback, and we're kind of, I guess, we're tying it in. You know, are we done with the Cali Pack yet?
No. I want to give a shout out to Darnell.
Okay,
Mr. 49er in the room, and
all right,
Michael Cooper.
We're going to talk about the Niners in a few minutes. We'll get to that.
He said, hey, Steve. He said, just tuning in.
All right. Thank you.
But Cali Cat Pack, keep your head up. Frank Wright, he's in the building, which was Carolina's first quarterback we ever had. Now, maybe that tied into some of the decision. I don't know.
But keep in mind that his first quarterback was because you have what's called a expansion draft,
right.
And so in the expansion draft, usually teams will give you a player that they don't want. And so Frank Wright they needed to get a quarterback, so they said the Buffalo Bills said, "Here, you can have him." And so from there, he became their first starting quarterback. I mean that's how it works, though.
Yeah.
It's funny, but that is how it works. Is that you teams, when they have an expansion draft, they give away guys who they don't want.
Yeah. No, we got some good players out of that expansion draft.
You got some good ones. You know,
but that's pretty much the Cali Cat Pack report.
Yeah.
You guys hit me up in the DMs. This will be posted in all our forums. You guys let me know what you're thinking. I think Steve got done wrong. Let me know how you feel about that, and let me know how you feel about Frank Wright. Like I said, I'm not going to throw him under the bus. I heard a lot of good things about him. I just, from somebody who had a whole term to put a whole team together and to come out 4-12, I'm a little nervous about that.
Yeah, you have reason to be nervous. You have a reason, but since we tied into the Niners, let's talk about DeMeco Ryans, who now would be the new head coach for the Houston Texans. That interesting move. I mean, I'm happy for him to get a chance. I mean, I hope they give him a chance. I mean, the Texans organization has been pretty much garbage for the last 5 or 6 years. Let's just call it what it is.
I'm surprised he took that job. That's like the fall guy job right there. You can do good over there, and if you don't have a winning season, they still might fire you.
Yeah, I think he should have held out for a better job myself, especially being his first job, because that first job is the key job. Because once you mess up that first job, then you get into that whole recycle bin of, you can't get the best job you want.
And maybe he has some insurances over there where they let him know, like, we're going to give you time to put together a team. I know if I was a coach, this is something I would ask for.
Yeah, but look, they've been doing about 7-8 coaches in the last 10, 11, 12 years. So, I mean, I wish him the best. I don't expect the best, but I wish him the best. I hope he's able to do it. But based on unless they change owners, it's going to be a hard sell. As a Commanders fan, trust me, I know.
Hey, when you see that they had an awesome team put together and how the owner came and undermined the coach, and when they had a good season and got rid of their best players because of how he felt, instead of staying up in the owner's box, he was out there messing with the team. It's kind of crazy over there.
It's a sad situation. So, I mean, like I said, I wish him the best, but I don't feel it's going to be a good ending. But go on. So now we're down to 2 coaches spots left. We got the Cardinals and the Colts as far as open coaching spots. Who do you think should get those 2 coaching jobs?
Well, we know Sean Payton has a new job.
Oh, we're glad of him. Yes. Looks like Denver Broncos.
Hey, does he make Russell, or whatever his last name, wake up over there?
Russell Wilson, it's going to be seen.
That's not Russell Wilson, Steve. That's Russell whoever. That's not Russell Wilson. Whoever that is.
I'm going to give him his due. He's earned the right to at least, much like if we don't give Tom Brady his love, we got to give Russell Wilson a little love. I mean, he did have a rough season last year, but come on. Let's give him the benefit of the doubt. I still think it was Hackett. I think it was the coach more than it was him.
Yeah, he's ranked 13.
Yeah. I mean, he had a solid year.
Solid.
Okay. He had an average year.
Okay, that's better. That's better.
He had an average year, but he did bring up towards the end of the year, he did play better. Once Hackett was fired, if you look at his stats, his last 4 or 5, 6 games were his strongest games of the year. So,
okay.
So we're down to 2 coaching jobs, Cardinals and Colts.
Wow, who deserves those jobs?
Good question. Well, we know one person won't be Kellen Moore. So Kellen Moore, who was the offensive coordinator, who was up for a lot of those jobs going into the offseason, he had a mutual decision to leave the Dallas Cowboys. And then the very next day gets hired by the Los Angeles Chargers for the offensive coordinator position. I think that's an upgrade for Kellen Moore. That guy clearly is a smart man.
Why so?
Dallas Cowboy coaching job is the worst coaching job in the NFL. I'm going to tell you why.
They had a pretty solid year.
Doesn't matter. Dallas Cowboy fans are so ridiculous, and the organization does such a fraud job. But we'll get back into this whole America's team thing. They did such a fraudulent job that even when they do have a good season like this year, look how they did Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott had his best statistical year ever. He has one bad game, and everybody's calling for his head. Why would you want that job?
I'm not a fan of Dak Prescott.
Well, I know you're not a fan of Dak Prescott, but you look statistically, he had a strong year.
Okay.
And the team had a great record. Was it 13-5? I mean, they should get props for that. But with Cowboy fans, it'll never be enough because they live by the ghost of Staubach and Dorsett and Aikman and Emmitt Smith. And I just remember back when Des Bryant was drafted, and they had that whole thing where Michael Irvin came down and I'm going to unretire my number 88 to give it to you, and you're going to be the next great wide receiver. How'd that turn out?
They got rid of him because Dak Prescott couldn't throw the long ball.
Well,
my opinion.
Okay.
My opinion.
All right, that's your opinion. But now they've given the same 88 now to CeeDee Lamb. Now, I guess he'll be the next great thing. Let's see if he can.
Did Michael Irvin come down again?
He was the kid down again. I think Michael Irvin's probably just so tired that just give it to him.
Hey, let's give a shout out to Star Status. Yeah, we got a little bit of stuff to say about y'all.
Oh, we got some stuff to say. It's coming. Believe me, it's coming. I just want to get all this little things out first before we get to the nitty gritty things. I got a sad one for me. This is I don't have a Cali Cat Pack, but I'm and I don't have a true team.
You don't even have an organization.
I don't have an organization right now because as you guys all know, until my owner is gone, I'm a man without a team.
You're up there wearing the shield.
But yeah. But going back to the glory days when I did have a team, when I had that team,
what team was that, Steve?
The Washington Redskins. I have no problem saying it. Washington Redskins. I'll say it again.
Hey, that's
Washington Redskins.
That's politically incorrect, Steve.
It's totally correct for me. And so when I did have that team during the glory days,
right.
We had a general manager named Bobby Beathard. Bobby Beathard passed away today at the age of 86. Now, let's talk about a little bit about this man's stats. 4-time Super Bowl champion. He first started with the Miami Dolphins, that 72 all-time great team that had the perfect record. 10 seasons in Washington from 1979 to 1988, where he went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2. Then in the 90s, he went to the San Diego Chargers, where he led a Chargers team led by Stan Humphrey to the Super Bowl to lose to the Niners. So he's a part of 5 Super Bowls in his career.
So like you was feeling a little nostalgia. You was
a little
back
nostalgic
to your heyday.
But I'm gonna tell you probably his greatest thing he did. And this was in 1987. Now, 1987, those who can remember long enough to
I was in diapers.
Yeah, you're in diapers back then, but I was old. I was in high school to remember. During that time, they had an NFL strike, and the NFL strike took place in the middle of the season. Now, they had been negotiating for a long time, going out, figuring out, they pretty much knew the players were going to strike. Bobby Beathard, being the genius that he was, he made sure during training camp for all the guys who he cut, he said, look, I'm going to cut you, but let me let you know that, in case they do go on strike, we're going to bring you back to be one of the players. So he kept a relationship with these guys. He made sure to get guys he knew would be able to do well in a situation where they might have to play games. So when the strike did take place, he already had a ready-made team. He was able to go out and get a couple other guys off the street. Redskins had the best team during that strike season where they had 3 games. They won all 3 games. And the most amazing part was that final game against the Cowboys where half the team broke the picket line. So the main players like White and Dorsett and all of them had already come back. He was able on Monday Night Football, led by Gibbs, they were able to beat the Dallas Cowboys in Texas Stadium 13-9 with a whole scab team against a team of mostly Dallas Cowboys. One of the greatest. Now, those who've seen the movie The Replacements with Keanu Reeves, I would recommend, if you're a football fan, that's one of the great, funny football movies out there. You'll enjoy it if you haven't seen it already. that movie was based loosely on that team. Well, not loosely. It was pretty much almost totally based on that team, where they kind of made some close funny things about it. But it was a great story, and that team, because they went 3-0 and they were cohesive, that team was able to go on that year to the Super Bowl and beat the Denver Broncos, led by the first African American quarterback to win a Super Bowl, Doug Williams.
Doug Williams.
Did you know that fact?
No, I did not.
Yes. So the year that Doug Williams won the Super Bowl was the team of the strike year where they had the scab team.
That was a good go back in the time.
Oh man, it was an amazing time. I mean, it was great to be a Redskins fan during those days. And so I just had to get that out of my system. Rest in peace, Bobby Beathard. You're loved,
in peace, sir.
Yeah, you're loved. Pro Football Hall of Famer. I mean, like I said, and to be honest, he led 3 Super Bowls. He had 2 different quarterbacks. No Super Bowls. He had Doug Williams, and then he had, of course, Joe Theismann in the first one. So I mean,
Joe,
he was able to totally rebuild the team from the 82 team to the 87 team, and I'll give him his props. So rest in peace, Mr. Beathard. We love you, and
prayers to your family.
And hopefully we'll be able to get the Redskins in a new direction with a new owner.
Washington football team.
Whatever you want to call them.
Commanders.
All right, so I think I'm done. on that sad note, since you now got a little fun out of it, let's get to these games.
Well, let's finish some of the news. We got Odell Beckham back on the scene.
Why are we even talking about Are you talking about the same Odell Beckham that weeks ago you were all excited? You thought he was going to go play for the Cowboys. Remember I told you
he did mess me up this season.
Do you remember I told you that he didn't? He was like, I'll just be around for the playoffs.
He held a spot on my fantasy roster where I could have had somebody else sitting there, and he never came back with his playboy ways.
Yeah,
but hey, it's 2 teams: the Rams and
yeah, that's fool. And was it? You were talking about fool's gold. That's fool's gold.
Hey, he's back, man. He's back. He's
please.
back. We can't leave him out. That's top news. Odell Beckham.
You could have saved this news until the season starts next year. Let's see if he plays next year.
What about the news about Trey Lance and Garoppolo? What about that? What about that, Steve?
I was going to say that for next week, but you want to talk about it. Shanahan has come out now and said that he doesn't see any scenario where Garoppolo will be back with the Niners next year.
Boom.
Yeah, so which is pretty much leaving to Trey coming off a huge injury, Lance, and Brock Purdy. Let's talk about Brock Purdy. I was going to wait till the Niner game, but we all kind of thought, oh, well, he's kind of being soft. He didn't play hard enough, but he had a completely torn UCLA in his elbow.
Yeah, about that. And, we are into this 49er Eagles game.
Yeah.
I have a little something to say about that.
Okay.
Now, yes, he went to they had an MRI. They said something's tore. But what's a little weird and a little strange to me is I saw this injury and I never once saw this man grab his arm like it was hurt. Did you see him grab his arm?
Oh, I didn't see it. And like I said, during the game, I was just thinking, I think he quit on the team, or at least the pressure was just too much for him. But
like he went and sat a little butt in the corner and was like, "Hey guys, I gave it like that. They're doing too much. They're all over the place."
I mean, it did feel. I mean, like I said, during the game, he did feel that way. You didn't feel the emotion. You didn't feel that he really showed any real true passion or wanted to go out there and get the job done. But
well, I will say to the 49er fan base, you guys have nothing to hold your heads down about. The 49ers came out of nowhere and did that thing right there. What I will say, in my opinion, you guys have no identity. You guys have Brock Purdy, which Brock Purdy, you are the man. You are outstanding, and I hope you come back, and I hope his arm heals 100%, where he can return to form, because that surgery is a killer. But I blame the coaching staff at the 49ers. The 49ers is and are a running team. Now, what Brock Purdy did when he came in there and he showed out and he let them know he had an arm where they can get the ball down the field. But what happened to the explosiveness of this offense in the run game? They got to this game and they act like they didn't know how to run the ball. Now, when Brock Purdy supposedly, or when he got hurt, and the journeyman came in there, They should have just went back to their whole Garoppolo run game. They shouldn't have missed a beat. They tied the game up 7-7, where the game was in reach and the defense was outstanding. That defense over there was a Goliath, and all they had to do was run the ball. They had the keys to the game. What Carolina did, they gave them Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is the man. And what did he do? He only had 15 carries for 84 yards, and he had a touchdown. He was averaging 5.6 yards a carry. You should have did what Carolina did. Should have rode his back that game to move to give them problems to possibly get a turnover and change the face of the game. But they put a journeyman in, and they still tried to pass the ball like Brock Purdy was in the game. And I feel that it was a letdown to the team. You didn't have Brock Purdy in there. You had a journeyman in there. Go back to what made you guys great. You have Christian McCaffrey. You got Debo. Now, I understand Mitchell, he got put on the injury report right before the game.
Right.
But Christian McCaffrey, there was nothing wrong with him. Every time he touched the ball, he moved the ball. They went away from it, and they had Josh Johnson throwing 13 attempts. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to prove?
Get him hurt.
Brock Purdy was 4-4. Once he goes down, you're supposed to go back to the run game, slow this game down because you don't have your quarterback in there. I'm not a coach. You're not a coach, but a blind Ray Charles could have saw that. What's going on? What is the problem?
Well, you know who did run the ball was the Eagles, and that's why the Eagles right now are in the Super Bowl. They had 40 rushes.
The Eagles, the Eagles had over 40 rushes, and everybody was running the ball.
Running the ball.
They made the 49er defense look like there was no defense.
Woo.
Gainwell had 14 carries at 48 yards, but guess what? Sanders and him both came in there. Sanders was right there at 11 carries for 42 yards. And guess what? Gainwell only averaged 3 yards a carry. Miles Sanders averaged 3.8 yards a carry. Everybody, even Jalen Hurts, 3 yards a carry, 3.5 at the most for each one of them.
But that's the kid. Just running the ball. You don't have to get 6 yards a carry to win.
But what I'm saying is they ran the ball,
right.
and the running wasn't doing well, but they kept at it. They kept at it.
But that's the point. Yeah.
The 49ers had McCaffrey, which was doing well, which was average. You give him the ball twice, that's averaging over 5 yards a carry. That's 10 yards. What is wrong? What's wrong with them? What is wrong there?
This has been my argument all playoffs. I mean, game after game, we've talked about this over and over again. Championships are won with running the ball, defense, and special teams. And not making turnovers. And that's the key to winning. And quite frankly, that turnover that Josh Johnson had when he got hurt, that was the key. That was pretty much the game. When he had that turnover, when they scored there.
That was coaching's fault.
Yeah.
And Darnell, thank you. He said so true. He agrees 100%.
Yeah.
But that was the issue there. Don't try to put it on anything else. The Eagles did nothing special. You guys stopped the Eagles' run game, but they kept at it. Your running game was extraordinary, and you went away from it with somebody that wasn't the starter. Anybody knows the backup comes in, we have to go to the backup plan. You can't keep the same plan as Brock Purdy, but they had Josh Johnson out there trying to throw the ball like he was Brock Purdy, and he's not that man.
I agree with you. I mean, like I said earlier, last week we talked about predictions, I was concerned about Brock Purdy. I said he's been going too well. History has shown that a rookie quarterback is not going to lead to the Super Bowl. It just hasn't happened. And I was worried about the Eagles defense. And the Eagles defense was, once again, all over the place and just shutting everything down.
That's the reason why I picked the Eagles before the game. I said, personally, I felt that the 49ers had the better team. But with having the rookie out there, I thought that it was going to be like a deer in the headlights. And it wasn't like that. Brock Purdy was still out there poised, and he was still out there looking good. But the coaching staff didn't come prepared. They came ill-prepared, and they only came for Brock Purdy behind the ball. They disrespected the Eagles defense, and what did the Eagles do? The Eagles came in there and they took 2 quarterbacks out in one game.
Yeah, took 2 out. And like I said, I mean, Brock Purdy was Mr. Irrelevant for a reason. And I mean, he's had an amazing season, and Niner fans should not get all on him because they don't get to the championship game without him. So you got to give him his love for that. But that intangible was he doesn't have that Mahomes, because let's be real. If Mahomes had that injury, he would have had him wrap that elbow up and would have been out there and say, okay, I can't throw the ball, but I'm going to run the heck out of the ball.
He would have been doing
He would have been doing something. And so, I mean,
but that's the thing. Brock Purdy doesn't have the keys to change plays. He has to listen to everything the coach does,
right?
Or coach does and says, and that's what, once I believe Brock Purdy, they release the reins and let that man be an actual quarterback, that they're gonna be scary if that man arm comes back right.
Yeah, I mean,
they're gonna be very scary.
Right. He might need to take next year off. They're talking about possible Tommy John surgery, which if you do that, you're pretty much gonna be gone for another year. So he may have to come back next year if he decides to do that route. Right now they're saying 6 months. So we'll see. I mean, like I said, he's had an impressive season, and you can't put him down in any way as far as what he accomplished for the Niners. I think the Niners should be very proud of this season, and their future is looking real bright with Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator.
The only person to be mad at is your coach, because let me give you some more stuff for your face so you understand. Jalen Hurts was only 15 completions for 25 attempts. He only had 121 yards in the air.
Right.
And he had 11 carries for 42 yards. He did nothing special in this game. They won with persistence. What the 49ers did was lost it. They threw the towel in. They had the man Christian McCaffrey. You saw him carry Carolina in numerous games, and he was ready. Just feed the man, and he could have got you through that game.
I've never seen a team melt down like the Niners did in the second half. Did you talk about that play with my old Hall of Fame, supposed Hall of Fame Trent Williams, where he just took that guy and just body slammed him to the ground?
You start getting frustrated when you know you're better than somebody.
Yeah, well, you can never get to that level. I mean, that's just uncalled for.
Hey, these games, when it gets to these big games, it's a little ticky tack. Yeah. You say the wrong thing, you're gonna get a jammy in your eye.
Yeah, he's gonna get a jam. He's gonna get a huge fine. Now he's talking about he might retire. So we'll see. We'll see if he decides to come back. But the Niners had a complete meltdown. Like I said, we'll see how they are next year. I mean, they should come back looking pretty strong. I think they're pretty much the nucleus is set. I'm not so on Trey Lance yet. Trey Lance didn't show me anything that makes me feel like he's going to be better than what we saw from Brock Purdy this year. Let's remember, he had the team the first couple of weeks, and they didn't look nothing like the team we saw the rest of the season. So we'll see.
Hey, the 49ers are hopeful. They believe that Trey Lance is the man. So Trey Lance is back in the driver's seat.
It's back in the driver's seat.
So, I want to see him come and make that offense look like Brock Purdy did. Yeah. He got some big shoes to fill. That Mr. Irrelevant came in there and he put his feet firmly in the sand. Let me see somebody come compared to that while he heals up.
All I know is that Trey Lance replaced Carson Wentz as quarterback at North Dakota State, and they both were number 2 picks in the draft. And we see how that's turned out for Carson Wentz. So I hope he don't follow the Wentz curse.
Moving on to
the game of the week.
Bengals KC.
Bengals KC. Where do we go? Where do we even start with this one?
I think we have to start with the man that was disrespected in the game, Mr. Patrick Mahomes, with his 29 completions on 43 attempts, 326 yards, 2 touchdowns, and doing the dance right now.
And the key, no interceptions.
Doing the dance. Do the dance.
Now talk about his counterpart.
Mr. Joe Burrow.
How do you
26 completions, 41 attempts, 270 yards, 1 touchdown, but guess what? 2 interceptions.
And that's the game right there. Pretty much, Burrow and Mahomes were pretty close, identical as far as statistics go. You know, 1 more touchdown, but those 2 interceptions were devastating.
Yeah. Early, too.
Early.
Joe Cool lost his cool.
Yeah.
They took his leather jacket and threw it over in the corner.
Well, the Chiefs defense, and this is another key. Mr. Mahomes, who had a horrible injury, could barely move. How many times was he sacked? 1 time, I think, maybe 2. Joe Burrow, who's healthy, got sacked 5 times. That defense, and for those 5 sacks, many more rushes where he could have got sacked and was barely able to get the ball away. That defense was on point for the Chiefs.
The Chiefs defense never looked that great.
Looked that great.
This whole season.
The whole season where they stepped it up.
But I'm gonna tell you, they did this thing where I always talked about in past seasons where Phillip Rivers used to do was when you talk too much about a team and you disrespect the team before the game, you make them step up because the Cincinnati mayor had disrespected the Kansas City Chiefs, and somebody on the Chiefs, Kansas City, not Kansas City, the Cincinnati was talking about Arrowhead Stadium.
They called it Burrowhead Stadium.
Yes, sir.
Now, I'm all for trash talk. I don't have a huge issue with trash talk.
Not before the game.
But not even just before the game. But you got to win. I mean, you got to win a championship for you. You can't disrespect Mahomes, who's a Super Bowl champion, when you haven't won it yet. I mean, I just have problems with guys who, are still up and coming, trying to find their way, who want to knock down the big dog in the big dog stadium.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta win the big one first before you can start talking that kind of smack.
Speaking of that, you can't trash talk your own players even after they make mistakes after the game. It makes y'all look bad to the Cincinnati player that was walking out yelling at the player who pushed Patrick Mahomes out of bounds.
Now, as far as that play goes, I mean, everybody wants to sit there and talk about that one play decide the game. We all know from Patrick Mahomes' history, even if he didn't push him out of bounds, they would have still had time for one more play.
Yes, sir.
Mahomes would have got enough to get them in the field goal range.
Yes, sir.
I mean, that's just the history of Mahomes. If you need to get the job done,
Patty Mahomes,
he's going to get the job done. So way too much was put on that play. It was a foul. I mean, you got to call it because he was way out of bounds when he pushed him.
Mm-hmm.
People want to say that Mahomes flopped. I don't know how you can flop when somebody pushes you.
But even if he flopped, he was out of bounds.
Right.
It wasn't like he got pushed in bounds and he flopped. He was out of bounds. He shouldn't have been touched at all. When you step on the white line, you're out. And he was clearly 2 feet out.
2 feet.
He was beyond the white line and got pushed.
Yeah.
So flopping, come on, people. Come on. Let's stop it.
Let's stop it.
They lost.
But we do got to talk about that officiating play.
Oh, the officiating, because there's really nothing to talk about here, but because the Bengals, they didn't use their running game at all in this game.
No.
This was their mistake. This is why they lost the ball. Every time they played Kansas City, they ran the ball and they ran well. This time they played Kansas City, they only ran the ball a matter of 15, 16 times, Steve.
I know. I mean, we see it. Why don't coaches see it? You got to run the ball and defense will give you the game. I mean, this was a close game the entire time. It's inexcusable how close this game was that they only ran the ball 15 times. Well, you got not just one good running back, but you have 2 strong running backs.
Well, you call it Burrow Stadium in disrespect. And the reason you called it that is because every time you faced them, you ran the ball down their throat. Plus, it was a well-managed game, running and passing. And then you get to a big game and you do none of the keys that you did all the times that you beat the person, and you talked and ran your mouth.
Yeah.
There was too much mouth swacking instead of ball passing.
I mean, I credit that to coaching and leadership. The Chiefs take on the coach. And let's talk about Andy Reid, because
the man?
Yeah, the Andy Reid Bowl. This man has led 2 separate organizations to 5 straight championship games.
Yes.
That's insane. I mean, to do it once is insane enough. To do it twice, I mean, if he's not a first ballot Hall of Fame, I don't know what it is.
Man, oh man, oh man.
So,
He's the man.
He's a man. So this is this the Reed Bowl? Is this the Kelsey Bowl? Which bowl is it? What do you think? We got the Kelsey brothers. Each one plays for the Eagles, one plays for the Chiefs.
It's a bunch of things in this game that's going to have it going. But we'll talk about that next week. What we need to talk about right now, Steve, and I want your opinion right now. What do you feel about this officiating, about these yellow and red flags? What do you feel about what's going on here?
Like I said, I've blown the whistle on this already, and I've told you my frustration. The NFL got to get the officiating thing down because it's happening way too much. There's too much shenanigans. I call it shenanigans. Too much shenanigans going on. Things that are like we have to explain or we have to apologize. We don't want your apologies. We want it right. People got money on this. People have people's livelihoods. Magic's Mac lost $2 million on the game. You can't sit up here and come after the fact and say, well, we blew that one, but next time we'll do it better. No, not good enough.
This is a message to the NFL and the NFL referees. We are tired of this poor officiating. We need it cleaned up. Roger Goodell, you need to go in this offseason and we need answers. We need the sports entertainment taken off of football and put back football sports. I don't want any entertainment. I don't want any part to where anybody can say that anything in this is being scripted. All that needs to be cleared up. All these questions need to be brought to Mr. Roger Goodell. Clean up the NFL's officiating. Make it known that it is not scripted. Come out. This needs to be addressed. We need a press conference. We need Goodell to come out. We need this to be called a sports entity because when there's gambling, we can't have any entertainment. We don't want WWE or WWF mixed up in the NFL. We want pure officiating. And we have enough, like Steve said, we have enough technology to where we don't have to have these issues. We have instant replay. Games should not be judged off of ref calls. It should be judged of how they play.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, the all-time GOAT, as we mentioned before earlier, Tom Brady, he had a little opinion on this, and he said that calls should be clear, concise, and obvious.
Yes.
Only blow the whistle if it's clear, concise, obvious, and affects the play itself. So don't make a play that you're just calling a holding that has nothing to do with the play itself. Only call it if that holding call affects the play itself. And he said that would help clear officiating up. Whatever they got to do, they got to get it fixed. Because like I said, I'm a football fan. I'll sit through. I mean, the ratings went through the roof. I mean, the Chiefs Bengals game was like the highest attended game as far as attendance goes in like 5-6 years. I mean, the NFL is still killing it in the ratings.
Right.
But at some point, people are going to start losing it off the NFL if they can't get this together because
they have to get it together.
They got to get it.
Goodell, please get this together. These red flags should be they should be null and void when it comes to a big play call. The cameraman upstairs should always call when they see something wrong. We shouldn't move on to the next play and they miss something.
Yeah,
it should be called.
I'm with you. So let's close out this show talking about something. I think I know your opinion on this, but this week we don't have football. Supposedly, they have this thing. Back in the day, you used to call it the Pro Bowl. And, Pro Bowl used to be somewhat solid, decent. And then after the time, it became kind of like that. We don't want to get hurt bowl. So now this year, they said we're going to come with something new. So now this year, they have the Pro Skills Weekend. Let's talk about this. So over tomorrow and then Sunday, they're going to have 8 events. These events include the play call, dodgeball, lightning round, the longest drive, precision passing, the best catch, kick off the tee, and then ending it with, they're calling it move the chains, but it's basically a tug of war. So I don't know. I know this is way before your time, but back in the 70s and the early 80s, they used to have this thing where they used to have like, Battle of the Network Stars, and then they had like Battle of the NFL Stars, and then you have a thing where they have like 8 or 9 different events, and they have the top NFL players, and they'll sit there and like test them out in the obstacle course and tug of war and all that stuff. This is what this is. This is going back to 1970s, 1980s. Let's just have our star players kind of just go through and play games to entertain the fans.
Well, I'm gonna end it like this, Steve, because
Yeah.
we got to get out of here. I feel like this is trash. I feel like if you want to do the Pro Bowl, let's just give out awards. Let's not have a game. Sit down in the auditorium and give out awards.
They're having a flag football game. Flag football.
No. This is NFL tackle football. I'm just giving out a suggestion. Let's have an award show where all these top players, they get awards. Fans can come out, get autographs and stuff like that. Do it like that, because this is weak and this is unacceptable. Or another one is when you do the Pro Bowl, have the practice squad players play and have a real game.
Well, you know what this is coming down to. You know what it's all about. MONEY. They don't care anything about any of that. All they care about is this is a way to make more money for the NFL.
I haven't watched the Pro Bowl game, and I say it like 12 years.
I know, but even if they think about it, they're not going to get anywhere close to the ratings they would get on a football game, but the ratings will still be better than anything else they're going to show during that time frame on Sunday. They get advertisers, and you're going to get a big crowd at the stadium. So
I'll throw a flag on the play. They got to get that together, but get this officiating together. We'll see you next week at 7 on Wednesday.
Super Bowl Sunday.
Yes.
Right.
But right before, we're going to come back and we're going to give our opinions on everything.
Oh, yeah. We got to get to those players of the year, coach of the year, all that good stuff. We're going to have our award show the day before their NFL honors show. We're going to tell you who should truly get those awards. And then our Super Bowl predictions.
Yep. You guys have a wonderful week. Please like, subscribe, and share, and we'll see you next week.
Peace.